Hey everybody, it's Angie and welcome to Hot and Flashy. In today's Foundation Friday for over 50s, we are going to be taking a look at Maybelline Dream Urban Cover Full Coverage Protective Makeup. This retails for $12.99 for 1 ounce of foundation, and it comes in 16 different shades. According to Maybelline, this is supposed to be a flawless coverage protective makeup that is lightweight and has a broad spectrum SPF 50 sunscreen. It's also enriched with antioxidants to protect against pollution. It comes in a plastic squeezy tube, and it's just got a little nozzle right there at the end to dispense the product, so very travel friendly. The sunscreen in this is an all-chemical sunscreen. It contains homosalate, octosalate, and octocrylene. It does carry the broad spectrum label, meaning it does protect you from both UVA and UVB rays. But if you're really into sun protection, what you need to know is that it doesn't really cover you for the full UVA spectrum. It only covers you for UVA2, but it doesn't have a sunscreening agent in there to cover UVA1. So I wouldn't use this for your main sunscreen. Of course, I wouldn't use any foundation or BB cream or tinted moisturizer as your main sunscreen, because you need to use about 1/4 teaspoon for your face and your neck to get the SPF level on the label. If you're using a tiny drop like most people do, you're cutting your sunscreen down by about 25%. So instead of a 50, you're getting a 12. And who wants a 12? Really, is that going to do much for your skin? It's not. So definitely wear a separate sunscreen underneath. I always do. This is a water, silicone, and isododecane base, and it also contains SD alcohol as the 4th ingredient, so that can be a little bit drying for some skin types. This also does contain antioxidants, niacinamide, and vitamin E. It has caffeine, and it also has fragrance. I know a lot of people are comparing this to the IT CC Plus cream because the packaging is similar and they both have an SPF 50, but they really couldn't be more different. This one has the SD alcohol, this one doesn't. This has a chemical-based sunscreen that doesn't cover the full broad spectrum of UVA1. This does have a full broad spectrum UVA1, UVA2, and UVB sunscreen that is all mineral. For me, the formulation on this was much more similar to a foundation that I reviewed, where the heck is it? Right here, a couple of weeks ago. It is the Pat McGrath Skin Fetish Foundation. The first 4 ingredients on this are the exact same as the first 4 ingredients on this. And you know, like the first, say, 6 ingredients are the vast majority of the formula. That makes up like 95% of what's in there. Of course, the price point is very different. This one was like 65, this one's 12. But I digress about ingredients as usual. So let's get back to it. The Maybelline application recommendation is to apply it to the skin and blend it with a sponge, your fingertips, or a brush. The 3 color swatches I have to show you here today are 128 Warm Nude, 130 Buff Beige, and 220 Natural Beige. Today I'm wearing 128 Warm Nude with a little bit of 130 Buff Beige, like in the center of my face, just to keep it from being a little bit too warm, too tan, and too orangey for me. So the first time I used this foundation was in a video that I did back in August. It was an all new makeup try-on video, and I had purchased this in the shade 220, which I put on, and it was way too tan and way too orange for me. So in that video, I tried to tone it down by using the concealer that I was wearing that day that turned out to be way too cool and way too pink. So I did a bunch of concealing like down my nose and in the center of my face to kind of try to make the color look good. I was also trying a primer on one side of my face and not on the other. I set it with setting powder. So it was kind of a funny makeup day because I was trying a lot of different makeup that day, but I gotta say I really, really liked it when I first put it on. As far as the foundation goes, I think it's really, really pretty. I don't think the color is 100% right for me, but it does have a nice skin-like finish. It doesn't look like makeup sitting on the surface of my skin. So let me just show it to you up close so you can see how beautifully blended it is. I didn't look at what kind of coverage this is supposed to give. It seems to be giving fairly sheer coverage. Okay, so as you can see, it says full coverage right on the label. This is definitely not a full coverage foundation. What I liked about it was that it was sheer and skin-like and looked natural on the skin. It was a little bit too shiny for me because of the sunscreens in it, so I did powder it down. So during the day, I had gone out to Target, and while I was there, I purchased the shade 130. And at the 5-hour check-in, I was still pretty happy with it, but it was starting to break down a little bit, and I was going out that night, and so I wanted to fix up my makeup, so I just took the 130 and kind of just smeared it on top. And what I loved about this makeup is you could just apply more of it later in the day. I mean, I gotta say, for a foundation that I put on 2 coats of it and 3 coats of setting powder, it looks remarkably like skin-like and natural, so pretty darn happy with the foundation. So I'll see you back in a few hours. You know, it wore pretty well, I thought, that day, but what I had forgotten about was how much concealer I had used, like down my T-zone and everything, and then I had added more of it. I think the makeup looks remarkably good for 8 hours. It really hasn't settled into creases. It's not making my skin look older. So it wasn't really, you know, a reasonable wear test or anything, so I did want to test it a few more times. Basically, I tried it with a few different sunscreens. I tried it with some other chemical sunscreens. I tried it with some of my all mineral sunscreens, and I tried it with no sunscreen, but I only do that at night, and so I don't get a hugely long wear test on it. So let me show you the evening one. This was an afternoon where, like, I worked out late in the day, then took a shower, so I was all clean, and I just put on a little bit of moisturizer. I put it on one side with my fingers, one side with a sponge. I gotta say, I couldn't really tell a difference between the two sides. They both went on really easily, but they both went on very, very sheer. But again, the look is too shiny for me. It's too luminous. I feel like it accentuates my pores and my texture. All right, it's been about 15 minutes. I did my eyeshadow and eyebrows, and I'm just gonna set it because it is still pretty luminous. It does feel a little bit tacky still. I'm kind of surprised it hasn't set back yet. I'm gonna put on kind of a lot of powder because I feel like this is super shiny. I think it looks good. I'm really loving it. I think it looks really natural on the skin. Let me show it to you up close, and I will be back at the end of the night. It'll probably be about 4 hours that we'll take a look at this and see how it wore. Dream Urban Cover on at 6:20, and it's now 11 o'clock. So we're talking about 4.5 hours with no sunscreen. So this is wearing really well for 4.5 hours. It looks really nice. I really like it. It has gotten a little shiny right down through the center of my T-zone again in 4 hours. It's not settling in wrinkles. Thought it looked reasonably good at 4 hours. It was just showing a little bit of wear on my chin. It didn't feel or look drying. So that was a short wear test that day. After that, I went to bed. Then on days 3, 4, and 5 was just pretty much testing it with other sunscreens. So I tried it with my Australian Gold sunscreen. That's one of my favorites. I use that one because it tends to be a little bit more mattifying on me. So I thought, let me try to tone down the shine on this thing. And it didn't really work. It is shiny no matter what you put on under it. It's just, I think the sunscreen in the formula just makes it into a shiny foundation. But unfortunately, since the Australian Gold is a little bit of a thicker formula, it did make the makeup look a little bit heavier, a little more cakey, and so I didn't really like how it looked. It didn't look like its beautiful natural self like it normally does. I thought it looked pretty good at the 5-hour check-in. Coverage is still really good around my nose, I think. It was sliding around here on my upper lip, and I just like smushed it back into place, but it looked more like this, where it's definitely got that kind of sliding around thing going on. But at the 10-hour check-in, I was like, oh my gosh, what has happened? It had completely fallen apart on my nose. I've never seen my nose look like this in a foundation check-in, so this was just weird. Let me just bring you in this one little piece of footage to show you how badly it wore. And this was just with the Australian Gold. Then another day, I tried it with my favorite Neutrogena sunscreen. That is the Ultra Sheer Liquid SPF 70. That day, I applied it with a sponge, and I used the Revlon Color Stay Primer on one side of my face and no primer on the other. Again, I set it to take down the shine, and I loved it when it was first applied. And here is the foundation with the rest of my makeup on today. I think it's looking nice today. Really loving it again. So we'll check in and we'll see how it wears on top of this sunscreen later in the day. And again, I loved it at the 4 or 5 hour check-in. All right, I'm doing a 4-hour check-in on the foundation today with the other sunscreen, and I've got the primer, the Revlon primer on this side. I don't really see a difference in the sides today, and I'm not really seeing too much wear. I think the foundation still looks really great. So very happy with it so far. It hasn't really settled in wrinkles at all, hasn't settled in pores. It's not sliding around, it's not fading away, it's not doing anything naughty, and I think it looks really good. But at 10 hours, it had worn off on my nose again, kind of similar to the Australian Gold day, only not as bad. I thought it looked definitely better at the end of this day than it did on the other day. Uh-oh, 9.5 hours with the sunscreen is not a pretty picture. That weird thing is happening on my nose again. The only makeup on my nose is the concealer. All the foundation is worn off, so. Then on day 6, I used my new favorite chemical sunscreen for testing foundations. That kind of matches up with the sunscreens in this guy. This is the La Roche-Posay and Thelios AOX Daily Antioxidant Serum with sunscreen. This is an SPF 50. I applied the foundation in shade 130. I didn't use any primer, and I applied it with a sponge, and again I set my T-zone to minimize my pores and texture. As with all the other days, I loved it when I first applied it. I absolutely love this foundation for the first hours. It is so beautiful. It's so skin-like. Even though it's too shiny for me, once I powder it down, I just think it looks absolutely terrific. At the 5-hour check-in, it still looked really great from a distance, but up close, as usual, it was starting to show areas of wear by the sides of my nose, and it was a little bit sliding around on my forehead. Other than that, it looked pretty darn good. At the 10-hour check-in, I think it looks all right. I mean, it's kind of really in place and also kind of worn off, so it's doing a little bit of both. Definitely like pink around my chin, the sides of my nose, a little bit up here on my forehead. The rest of my face, though, I think it looks fine. It hasn't gotten overly shiny throughout the day. It hasn't accentuated pores or texture. So I would say that, you know, I like it. It's not going to be like the most long-wearing or anything, but not bad. All right, so let's go ahead and do the rest of the tests on it. We have got to do the flash photo. Let me run out and take it. I feel like it looks nice, it looks luminous. Where I am seeing flashback definitely is underneath my eyes. That is the It Bye Bye Pores powder. That always gives me flashback, but for the rest of my face, I feel like it looks pretty much the same as my neck and my chest, so I'm going to go with pass on the flash photography test, and sorry for the crazy eyes in that picture. All right, let me just clean off my screen here, and we will do the good old face print test. Sparkly clean phone glass. Now I have had this on all day, so this might just end up being my face oils instead of foundation, but you can usually tell if it's just oils. I mean, this part of my face doesn't really get that oily, so oh, not good. Yeah, oh, that is makeup. That is like a flesh toned face print. Can you see it on there? Oh, big bad one. Eek. All right, so we're going to give it fail on the phone test, and then what else? Ooh, I got to do the kitchen light, the outdoor light, and the natural window light. Let's do the overhead kitchen light on the Maybelline Dream Urban Cover. And here it is in natural light in front of a window. So let's go ahead with the pros and cons on this one, shall we? On the pro side is the lightweight, natural looking, skin-like finish that this foundation gives. It is just beautiful. If you love something that is not very foundation-y looking, if you like a natural look, if you like a skin-like finish, then you will love this. If you're looking for a full coverage foundation, this is not going to be your jam. This doesn't settle in wrinkles, it doesn't settle in pores, and those are two of the biggest things for more mature women. It definitely has a luminosity, a glow to it, which I'm going to put in the pros side here. I'm also going to probably put it in the con side, just so you know. For those of you who love a luminous, glowy finish, you will love this. It's not drying to wear. In spite of itself, it does have the SD alcohol. So let's jump over to the con side. It has SD alcohol as the fourth ingredient, which I'm not thrilled about. I would like to be able to put the broad spectrum SPF 50 on the pro side, and I'm sure everybody else does, but guess what? It's going over to the cons because they're conning you by making you think that you're protecting your skin with this stuff. It leaves off UVA1, which causes wrinkles and skin cancer and is not good for you, and you don't use enough of it definitely to get that full SPF 50, so please put on a sunscreen underneath this anyway. I guess some is better than nothing, but if you're a sunscreen purist, then no, this isn't going to do it for you. I'm putting the shiny over here on the con side, even though I had glowy and luminous over here, but for the people who have more textured skin, more enlarged pores, you don't want to make up to accentuate your pores and wrinkles, and sadly that's what this one does on me unless I powder it. I gotta say, I do love how it looks powdered. The last one is that it's not very long wearing. I could not get it to last up to 10 hours. The good news about it though on that front is that you can bring it with you and you can just apply more later in the day, and it builds on over itself even later just beautifully, and it still doesn't look makeup-y or cakey. So never looks cakey, never looks makeup-y. So yeah, lots of pros on this one, just a couple of cons. I wish for me it was going to be higher up on my list of foundations because I do really like it so much, but sadly for me it's just got a few little chinks in it that don't make it my perfect foundation, but it is a pretty great one. Like I said, if you're someone who really loves a very sheer, natural looking, just a hint of color over your face that gives you a glowy, dewy luminosity, then you could really love this guy. I always like to leave you with my Holy Grail foundation to consider in case you're looking for something that is perfect, at least on my mature skin. If you have skin like mine that has more texture and you need something that's smoothing and lasts all day, is totally bulletproof, you can put it on with your fingers, it's lightweight, it's so beautiful on the skin, give the Chanel Ultra Le Tint Velvet a try. That is fantastic. Anyway, that is it for today's video. I hope you found it helpful and informative. If you did, go ahead and give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. As always, I thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate your watching. Have a great day, and I will see you in the next video. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.